G'day everyone, great to have your company. Welcome once again to Tassie Rules, the NTFA footy show with thanks to DLM Machinery. We're going to get stuck into it very shortly because we've got a big show coming up tonight with guests. We'll have our regular segments of football around Tasmania, also women's footy with a special guest joining us here in the studio, and also football around Tasmania and our community notice boards. But as we do every week, it's time now to announce our photo of the week. And thank you to everyone who's sending them in because we're getting a ton of pictures from footy around Tasmania. But this week, our winner is Jessie Groves, who sent us in this fantastic photo. I'll put a bit of context behind this. So the East Coast Swans women's team played their very first game in the NTFAW last week against Georgetown down at beautiful St Helens. And have a look at these young girls here, the future of the East Coast Swans. They are decked out in their Swans tops, supporting the women last week. A fantastic photo sent in by Jessie Groves. So thank you for sending that one through, and congratulations with thanks to the Little Rivers Brewing Company. You are this week's gift pack winner of the Crafty Cuts range, and that'll be coming out to you this week. So thanks very much for sending that out, Jessie. If you want to be in with a chance, please continue. Send the photos in from wherever you might be watching footy across the weekend around Tasmania, and we'll have another winner next week. And we'll post a few other photos online as well for you to see. But we're going to have a quick break now because we're going to get straight into our club focus. It's St Pat's this week. That's coming up after the break.
Durable, reliable, heavy duty. Get the power you need from the people who know machinery. For sales, parts, servicing and expert advice, call DLM Machinery today or visit dlmmachinery.com.au.
Welcome back to the NTFA Footy Show with thanks to DLM Machinery. Great to have your company, and it's now time for our regular Club in Focus. And this week we are focusing on the St Pat's Football Club, established back in 1931. They have had a very decorated history, and including winning the Division 1 Premiership last year. They continue to evolve, and we're going to talk about that and a little bit about their history with two of the great men at the St Pat's Football Club. Games record holder Winnie Maher, welcome to you. Good to see you.
Thanks, Rick.
Ian McCallum, club president. 11 years now, Macca.
11 years. I can't believe it. I keep on saying just one more year.
Just one more year, and here we are, 10 years later.
Yep.
Winnie, firstly to you, mate, 314 games for the club. Games record holder at the moment. You're being quickly approached by Tim Fall. We may get onto that in a little bit, but where did your, affiliation with the club start, and what's kept you there for so long?
Yeah, Rick, I'm an old boy from the school. That's where I really started out. So it was a natural progression to go to the old boys when I left school. Problem was back then, it was all the NTFA was all one division, and some Pats used to live down the bottom of the ladder and get beat by 200 points every week. As a young kid, you really didn't want to be a part of that for too long. So I left and spent a few years with Launceston, but I really didn't find my place there, and drifted back to St Pat's because it's just that sort of club that you make mates for life there, and everyone fits in. And I just really enjoyed being in that environment.
And Macca, for you, as we said, you're into your 11th year as president. There's been a lot happening in that time, and continuing to happen now. But what are you most proud of? What are some of the things that have really ticked the boxes for you?
Well, clearly after 20 years winning that senior premiership last year, that's right up there. But some amazing things along the way. Scott Flynn winning that national award last year was just a fantastic reward for the workers around football clubs, and just because he's such a great example. Now, and probably I was just a footballer. Most of my football career has been more in the administration side, and I really appreciate the volunteers that we have around the club, and with him winning that national award, and particularly in his circumstances, was just fantastic. Look, I think that establishing the Hall of Fame, I think we're the only one in the NTFA that has that now. Winnie's a member of that. And the growth of the club now, particularly under 18s last year, we took the plunge with under 18s. There was opposition to that. but you need to understand that under 18 is in a critical stage now with lack of numbers. We sit up there in Prospect in a huge population area. Last year, our first year, it was a battle. Whether we had a list of 25, we won 3 games but got through. Pacer Markham was the coach. Did a fantastic job. He couldn't go on with it this year. Jake Kilby, who's a senior footballer, and he's taken over the role this year, and it's just going beautifully. We now have 32 on the list, and so many of those kids. These are kids that aren't coming from other football clubs. They're kids that had given football away because at Prospect you come out of under 16s. There's nowhere to go. The good ones go to North Launceston and Launceston. The next ones have to go and find a football club somewhere else. But there were a lot of kids giving it away, and we're now getting those kids back into football, and that's a very important feature.
Yeah, brilliant. We've got a couple of photos we'll bring up of the under 18s as well. But Win, for you, I mean, with your history that you've had with the club and continue to have, what does that do now in terms of, I guess, that segue of bringing in kids, but also having that pathway to senior football now with them, and as we see some of the action shots there of St Pat's in action in the under 18 space, but in terms of retaining these kids in football, because we've spoken about it a few times on the show, the drop off in kids playing football from about 16 onwards is quite big.
Yeah.
So what does this do for the club?
Or maybe I'll just look at my own experience and journey in answering that, Rick. I went to Launceston with a couple of good mates and really loved it there. Great football club, played some high-class football. But because I wasn't a super talent, I never really found my place there. And so I was looking for that next tier, or just give the game away. And so I was fortunate. I had something to come back to in the amateur league at St Pat's. Now, if we look at what our club's actually doing, we're offering that within our own club. And so kids, if they're not that top end talent, they've got somewhere where they can go and play and they can enjoy their under years, but then they can continue their football journey along with their maybe more talented mates or even less talented mates. They've got a pathway they can go their whole football career through and stay at the one club.
It's brilliant, isn't it? And it's the way of moving forward for football as well, particularly with community football being so strong. You've been around the club a long time, Win, I know, and Macca touched on it, but the volunteers, and we've got a couple of faces we're going to bring up here, but tell us about these two. Scotty Flynn, as you mentioned, AFL National Community Volunteer of the Year Award. Took home a very, very nice car as well. Yep. And didn't take you, though, to the AFL Grand Final win. He chose someone else. And Kevin Quigley, a timekeeper for 30 years. He stopped pressing the button last year. But tell us about the influence of these people. There is Kevin, fabulous fella. The importance of these two individuals, but volunteers to the football club.
Yeah, well, both those guys, and even the third bloke there, Timmy Fall, that was beside Bruiser, they're all champion blokes. Something that's not hard to find up at the St Pat's Football Club. But let's talk about volunteers in general. Most clubs don't have a lot of them, and those that are there, they give an enormous amount of time. And really what they're doing is creating an environment for others to use and benefit from. It's huge what they do, very selfless. Bruiser's probably done that better than anyone, and that's why he was recognised. He was there when I first come out of school, holding the club up, and at shaky times too. Back then, he was putting in a lot of time to do it, and he's still there now. So, I don't know, Macca, what would that be? He's into his 4th decade with the club, maybe. Yeah, cannot respect that effort enough. But that environment that those guys create, it's huge. It goes beyond football. Like I've got mates that have come out of there that'll be with me for the rest of my life. Stopped playing football some time ago now, and it's those volunteers that create that opportunity. It's you cannot respect it enough what they do.
No, well said. Macca, you mentioned about the long wait for a senior premiership, so we're going to bring a smile to both your faces because we've got some photos from the grand final last year, and there's that great team shot beforehand. But tell us about what that meant to the club, because as Win mentioned as well, there've been a lot of tough times, and was probably the last premiership. Was that 2002 that you played in?
That
Oh,
was
look at
yeah.
the colour of my hair.
So there you go. So, you know, the grey hairs have come
2004.
since and 20 years later. So tell us about what that meant to the club, Macca.
Well, I guess, how do you judge success? I mean, people will look at St Pat's Football Club and say successful. I've been with the club for, I think, 12 or 13 years, and we've played finals in firsts and reserves every season. So that's certainly a certain level of success. And while we've had premierships in reserves, that one in the seniors, I mean, that's always the one you look to achieve. But what was Scotch have been very strong in the period while I've been there. So winning multiple premierships. I was very, very pleased for Jake Lowe because Jake coached us against when Scotch beat us 2 years in a row. And that was a real reward for him as an individual. But for a club, that Saturday night in the club was just, it was quite incredible. And the boys, the coaches, and Jake Lasky in particular, embraced everybody. It wasn't just the senior team. I'll always remember when Jake Lasky made the call, everybody form a circle in the entire room, and there must have been 150 in there, and it was like that. And everybody sang the club song. And I thought, Jack, that one will live in my memory, Jake. Well, that was Jake Lasky's super idea. But very happy for Jake Lowe in particular. Jake Lowe, while he's a bench coach this year, but he's our main contact with Prospect Junior Football Club, and we've started St Pat's Academy now. So from I think it's from 12s up. There's 5 boys that come. We have senior players work with those boys, and this is all part of the steps of becoming just so close. That's a pathway. That's what we're trying to produce.
I do remember you actually ringing me. You may not remember this, but you rang me the night of the grand final. And I didn't even know who it was because your voice had just about gone. And I won't put you on the spot because you probably don't remember because you were having a very good night. But I do remember the celebrations that were going on. It was fantastic. Just finally, Ian, we talk about the evolution of football clubs. Just want you to touch on the women's program because I know that's something that St Pat's as a club are working very hard towards achieving, hopefully in the near future.
Yeah, that's in our. I mean, all clubs have a strategic plans, and a women's team is certainly on the horizon with us. We have certain restrictions with our conditions up there, but we're working closely with the NTFA. But our aim is certainly to have a women's team sooner rather than later. But so a few more hurdles to jump over yet.
All right. Well, Ian McCallum, Winnie Mark, great to catch up with you both. Thanks for being part of the show this week and focusing on St Pat's. And it's going to be a great 2023. I know old Scotch just got over the line last
They
week.
got us
Bitter
last
rivals,
week, just like last year. They did it to us last year too. They beat us by 40 points last year. There's the corresponding game. So they got us again on Saturday. So
Stay tuned, Rick.
Yeah, we're in for another great competition, there's no doubt. But great to have you on, gents. Thank you.
yeah, good on you,
Thanks,
Rick.
mate.
Thank you.
Cheers.
All right, that's our Club in Focus with thanks to Harrison Agents for this week. We're going to have a quick break. After the break, women's footy with thanks to Cleanaway.
Durable, reliable, heavy duty. Get the power you need from the people who know machinery. For sales, parts, servicing and expert advice, call DLM Machinery today or visit dlmmachinery.com.au.
And welcome back to the NTFA Footy Show. It's time to talk women's football now with thanks to Cleanaway. And it's been a terrific start to the Premier Division for the Bridgenorth Football Club. 2 wins from their first 2 games. A huge win against the reigning premiers Launceston in week 1. And then last week, a 22-point win over the newly promoted South Launceston. And joining us from the Bridgenorth Football Club this week, a new player to the club, new player to Northern Tasmanian football. Pleasure to welcome Sarah Donnelly. Welcome, Sarah. Nice to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Now, you've moved up here late last year from down south, but you were playing football down there with university. How'd you end up at Bridgenorth?
So I was playing last year with uni, but because I was up here for uni, I was struggling to get down to play games. So I was like, I'll find a team to train with up here, and I met somebody who played for Bridgenorth. I was like, where's Bridgenorth? And then I went along to the training and really enjoyed it. So when I decided to fully come up here this year, it was an easy decision where to play.
Fantastic. It's a great story because it's a wonderful club, and you're right. Where is Bridgenorth? A lot of people would ask that question. But 12 new players and I think 7 debutants already in
Yeah.
season 2023. It's been a great start to the year. Must be exciting.
Yeah, it's super exciting. We've had a great pre-season, had the Melbourne trip, which was really fun.
I
and
heard about that.
Great
So,
opportunity.
I mean, that's a great thing for the club to do, to give you that experience heading over, I guess, from a bonding point of view as well, but
Yeah.
to play some footy over there with a practice game as well. How important was that?
It was a really, really good experience. We had no idea what we were coming up against. The VFAW, a team we played against, is a competitive league, and we had no idea. But we got in and we had a really great game. And then we had a really good time. We went to the football that evening, got to watch round 1, which was really exciting. And it was a great bonding experience and, yeah, footy experience for the team.
And Mr. Everywhere and Mr. Everything, Bobby Beams, obviously does so much around the football club and a legend there. But he must be a great fit as well as a coach in terms of the development that's going on with your team.
Yeah, Bobby's really pioneered the women's program with a couple of others, and he's really using the other girls and their expertise in the league. So we've got one of our girls is the fitness coach and the midfield coach, and we have a forward coach from the team and a back coach. So it's been really good to have all that sort of expertise around. It's been great.
Now, you are top of the ladder and you are playing another undefeated team in Old Launcestonians, of course, grand finalists last year. We might have a quick look at the ladder and see it there as well. I know you're probably looking forward to a big test, but there we can see Bridgenorth and OLs both on 8 points and Old Scotch on 4. But exciting game, really, I guess, the old cliche of see where you're at. But this should be a terrific game against OLs.
Yeah, it's a big game ahead. We're really looking forward to it. We're looking forward to have a really good hit out, and we're hoping we can get over the line. But put in a lot of work, so we're ready for it.
Now, it was obviously very exciting to get the win last week against South Launceston, as we said, newly promoted. But how exciting was it, co-captain Grace Walker, to have her back playing after missing, I'm told, 659 days of football from a knee reconstruction. And she kicked a goal. How exciting was that?
Yeah, her first ever goal in footy, so that was awesome, super exciting. And Grace has been great. When I came to the club last year, she was in an assistant coach role. She's barely missed a training since she did her knee and had the reconstruction. She's been really around the club, really forged the girls' culture and the club in general. She's a big volunteer at the club. So it's great to have her playing, and kicking a goal's awesome for a backman.
Certainly got around to that, was for sure. We'll have a look at the matches coming up this week in the NTFA Women's Premier Division. It is round 2 officially. Obviously, there were a couple of mixes of matches in week 1, but Old Scotch are taking on Launceston. That'll be this Friday night at 7 p.m. down at the NTCA ground. Scottsdale are at home to South Launceston. That's on Saturday, 10:25. Both sides looking for their first win of the season. And, of course, OLs and Bridgenorth. That is happening at 10:25, so it should be a terrific game as well. We'll have a quick look at the Women's Division 1 ladder as well while we're on the schedule. But there we can see very early stages there. Georgetown sitting on top of the ladder with Evandale and Meander Valley getting wins there. And that should be a terrific round of football coming up. If we have a look at those matches, Longford are playing Deloraine Saturday. That's at 10:55 a.m. out at Longford. And Delorane's first game of 2023 after the bye, whilst Longford were pretty competitive last week against Evandale. So some positive signs on the back of 2022 for the start of this year. Georgetown, after a big trip down to St Helens last week, they're back at Blue Gum Park, the magnificent Blue Gum Park. They are playing Evandale at 10:55 on Saturday. So both teams big winners in round 1. And if we look at the third game there, Meander Valley taking on the East Coast Swans. That's on Saturday at 2 o'clock out at Westbury. The Suns actually trailed Hillwood by 19 points at half time and 9 at three-quarter time, but got over the line by 3 points. So that is all the footy action coming up. Big. It's all getting into full swing now. It's very exciting, isn't it?
Yes, very exciting. Can't wait for the rest of the season ahead.
Have you found the level of competition playing in the NTFAW for the first time?
Really strong. It's been a bit different to what I've used to, different style of play, but it's been really strong. The skill level is so high, and I think I started women's footy in 2019, and every year the skill level's just gotten better and better. It's really incredible.
And you see now with, I guess, with the NTFAW, the opportunity to come up against some of the best women in the state, ex-AFLW players as well. So obviously Abby Green is a big influence down at OLs as the player coach down there. But how much does that do for women's football as well, knowing that you've got a lot of people starting out in their football careers, but the opportunity to actually come up against some of the best players in the state? Have you seen in your travels in your career so far the development of women's football continue to grow?
Yes, I've seen it a long way. I remember I played my first game of footy in year 8 when they were trialling women, like youth women's footy, and it was so much fun. But then I started again in 2019, and it was been a great experience. But every year the competition level's gotten higher. We're moving around the ground much better. Skill level gets better every year, so it's been very impressive. And having the girls that have played footy for a long time and are the best of the best is great to have in the competitions.
Talk to us about Bridgenorth. It is a club and a team with, probably fair to say, no town. It is really just farming territory out there. And I guess being new to the club, what is it about the Bridgenorth Footy Club? Because numbers-wise and player number-wise, they're very, very strong, both in men and women.
Yeah, I think the club is a real one club spirit. That's what I've really enjoyed so far. We have team dinners on Thursday where everybody gets along. It's powered by volunteers. There's just a lot of support across the whole group. And for the women's program, I think we've had so many great opportunities. Like we've had our trip to Melbourne, which is just an unmissable opportunity, something I've never heard of. And it's just been, I think, really exciting. The club really gets around their players, are really supportive, and yeah, it's just been a really good experience to be a part of the club.
Fantastic. One club feel like that. That's and that's how you want to see footy clubs as well. It's the inclusivity now is fantastic, and how that's come along. Now, just finally, what we're going to show everyone now is the Bogues MVP votes. The votes have come in, and we'll have a look at the Women's Premier Division first of all. Early stages, of course, in the season, and there is the round 1 leaderboard with Jennifer Guy from OLs. She polled 6 votes. So how it works for those who are not familiar with it is that each coach gives a 3-2-1. So you can see there that Jennifer Guy picked up 6 votes. So she's leading the way on 9. And Sarah, there you got a couple of teammates, Emily McKinnell and Alice Robinson, second and third at the moment on 7 and 5 votes respectively. So good performances all round there from the Bridgenorth girls. And we'll have a quick look at Women's Division 1 and the leaderboard there. Jodie Clifford, of course, on the show week 1, coach of the Tassie Devils girls team. She played a game with Georgetown last weekend and also got maximum votes. So she is on 6, from Chelsea Wells of the East Coast Swans, picking up 3 votes. And Charlotte Howe from Meander Valley Suns also on 3. And Kia Rogers, Georgia Rowley and Emily Murphy, the last 2 from Evandale, also on 3 votes, but that's after the first week. Sarah Donnelly, great to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us. We wish you well. I know you're going to have a big crowd watching the game on Saturday. Should be a great clash with Old Launcestonians, but good to have you on the show.
Thank you so much.
That's Sarah Donnelly joining us here from the Bridgenorth NTFA women's team. That is all we've got from the women's game this week, with thanks to Cleanaway. We'll be back with Football Around Tasmania in just a moment.
Durable, reliable, heavy duty. Get the power you need from the people who know machinery. For sales, parts, servicing and expert advice, call DLM Machinery today or visit dlmmachinery.com.au.
Welcome back to Tassie Rules, the NTFA Footy Show. Great to have your company. We'll get to Football Around Tasmania now. But firstly, the local competitions in the NTFA. We'll have a look at the NTFA Premier Division ladder, because it's already starting to take a little bit of shape. And as we can see, Hillwood are the only undefeated team at the moment. 3 wins from 3. And there are going to be some great games coming up this weekend. Bracknell had an incredible win last week against Longford. Amazing game of football out of Bracknell. And a bit of the surprise packet, Deloraine at the moment, 2 from 3 there on 8. Longford and South Launceston rounding out the top 5 at the moment. But let's check out what's coming up in matches this weekend in the Premier Division. Scottsdale are taking on Bracknell. Now, this is at 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. Now, Bracknell, one loss to Hillwood. That was in round number 1. Scottsdale, 1 win, 1 loss coming off the bye. So that game up at Magpie territory. Hillwood, well, they take on South Launceston Saturday afternoon. The 2019 premiers, as I said earlier, been very impressive so far. South Launceston, after a great win against Rochalee in the opening round, somewhat surprisingly went down to Bridgenorth at home at Youngtown by 9 points. So that should be a very good game as well. Now, the reigning premiers, Longford, they're going to be in action at home, and they will face a test from Deloraine, who are 2 from 3. Big loss for Longford out of last weekend's loss to Bracknell. Michael Larby, the ruckman, best on ground in the grand final last year, suffered a compound fracture of the forearm, and he's going to be out for at least a minimum of 3 months. So massive loss for the side there coming up over the next period of time. And Georgetown taking on Rochalee. Bit of an indifferent start to the season for the City Tigers. 1 win and 2 losses, and they're facing Georgetown, who are still searching for their first win of the season. So that's round 4 action in the NTFA Premier Division. Let's have a look at Division 1 now on the ladder there as well. 3 undefeated teams. Evandale, Perth and Old Scotch are the undefeated sides at the moment. So Evandale on top of the table on percentage at the moment, 2 from 2. St Pat's and Lilydale rounding out the top 5 at the moment, with OLs and the East Coast Swans as well. And then we've got Bridport, Uni and Meander Valley. So we look ahead to the weekend's action coming up as well. We got the Division 1 University of Tasmania are playing the Meander Valley Suns. That's a Friday night game, so that is going to be at 7 o'clock out at Uni. Remember this game last year when they met early in the season? It was Uni's first win in 4 years when they defeated Meander Valley, and it's going to be the first win of the season for one of these two teams as well. Now, East Coast Swans taking on Old Scotch. Big challenge for East Coast against the undefeated Scotch, who, of course, we spoke about earlier, defeated the reigning premiers St Pat's last week. That game on Saturday afternoon. St Pat's back at home, the reigning premiers. They'll be on the rebound, and they take on the new team back in the competition this year in Bridport. And this should be a great game. They are big rivals, big match. Evandale taking on Perth. Both have started the season with 2 wins from their first 2 games, and Perth coming off a magnificent win last week, 8 points over Lilydale. So that should be an absolute beauty. And Old Launcestonians taking on Lilydale, 1 win and 1 loss apiece. So a big game even at this early stage of the season. So all those games on Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock, as I mentioned, UTAS and Meander Valley. That is on Friday night at 7 o'clock. So that segues us well in now to the Bogues MVP, and we can take a look at how that's standing in the Premier Division. With the votes in there, Hillwood's Jacob Boyd, he's our leader at the moment after polling a maximum of 6 votes in the win over Rochalee. And then we've also got Josh Woolley of Bracknell. He is in second place on 9 votes, with last year's MVP in Jordan Cousins from Rochalee. He's third at the moment on 8 votes there. So that is the leaderboard after round 3 in the Premier Division, and looking now at the Men's Division 1 competition. And we've got a 4-way tie at the moment after the first couple of rounds. We've got Lilydale's Trent Griggs and also Callum Smith from Evandale, along with John McKenzie and Mitchell Cheeseman from Old Launcestonians. They are all on 7 votes, but very early going there. You can see all the votes across the 5 games last week there from NTFA Division 1. So that's the early vote counts there. Now, having a look at our community notice board and a few events just to bring you up to speed with. Coming up on the 6th of May, this will be out of the Bridport Football Club. And look at this for a lineup. Simon Black, Adrian Fletcher, Craig Lambert and Brett Maloney. The front bar Bridport style, that is happening, as I said, on the 6th of May. All the details are on their Facebook page, and tickets there, $100 for non-members and $90 if you are a member. It'll be a great night up there, and please make sure that you get along and support the Bridport Football Club for that event as well. Now, the Sheffield Football Club, of course, up there on the northwest coast, they've got their annual ball coming up on the 13th of May, and there are the details. get onto their Facebook page as well. Some of these clubs have got some great Facebook pages, which makes it very easy for us. That is getting underway 7 o'clock, and that should be a great night as well. Damon Sims is the DJ for the night, so he'll be rocking away until the wee small hours, no doubt, as well. We touched on this one last week, but this is a great reunion that's coming up at the Devonport Football Club. It is for the now defunct Elizabethtown Football Club, the 40th anniversary of their 1983 premiership. And you can get on to the Facebook page. It's ETFC 1983. Details there on our Facebook page as well. So you can check that one out. That's going to be a great event coming up at the Devonport Football Club. A couple of others to bring you up to speed with at the Ulverston Football Club. And this will be a ripping night with the one and only Rodney Rocket Eade. That is on the 26th of August up at the Ulverston Football Club, proudly presented by the Old Robins, their annual dinner. And more of an announcement rather than an event. Well, it will be a big event because this is a great milestone. Congratulations to Adam Jeffrey from the Latrobe Football Club. He's going to be playing his 350th senior game this Saturday against the Circular Head Saints. Amazing milestone to do it all with the one club. So we wish Adam all the very best in his 350th this weekend in the NWFL. So that's it for our community notice board for this week. Please, if you've got anything you'd like us to get out there to the general public, we can reach thousands every week. We'd love to hear from you. Please send us a message, get in touch with us, and we will be sure to pop it on the show next week. But that's all we got time for. Great to have your company. Thanks for your support of the show. Keep in touch with us. We look forward to seeing you next week once again on Tassie Rules, the NTFA Footy Show, with thanks to DLM Machinery.